going on, world? I'm in my kingdom, my palace, where I belong. I'm putting my house together piece by piece. I finally have a place I can call home. If you look right above me, as you can see, it says the world is mine. That's my mindset. I look at this sign every day and it motivates me to be better, to make smarter choices, and be stronger. Yeah. The title of this segment is called Bloodlines. And in this video, I'm going to speak about family. This is a very sensitive topic for me because I'm a loyal person. So family is very important to me. I believe that family can be a backbone to anything powerful. A good family can change the dynamic of your situation. A family can do good for you or bad for you. And there's a lot of toxic family members, especially in my family. But I'm gonna continue from where I left off at. And that was regarding a situation where I got cut in Connecticut doing some activities that I didn't have any business doing, but it was my way of income. I had to do what I had to do, unfortunately. So yeah, somebody jacked me, and I got cut in the process. And the guy that did it was affiliated with somebody that was close to somebody that I knew. And the crazy part is, the person who's connected to the person who cut me is related to my ex, my partner that I was dealing with. So I feel like this person could have had some type of connection to it, and he just happened to be the uncle of my ex. And it's a weird situation because when you think of uncle, you think of somebody that's way older than, their niece and nephew. In this situation, they're about a year or two apart. So, it's a little tricky. It's very tricky. It's hard to explain. That this person's mother had this person late, basically. So the person that was affiliated, to the guy that cut me was my ex's uncle. And I can't prove that he had anything to do with it, but what I do know is this. He was cool with the guy that cut me. So that says a lot. And I heard from an outside source that was cool with him that he never liked me. And also, he molested his niece. So when they were younger, when my ex would sleep over there, and this is before I knew this woman, she's an adult now, but this is before I met her in Connecticut. This is her childhood, and she was vulnerable enough to tell me the situation. So he touched on her when she would go over there and they would hang out, like how cousins fuck on cousins, a lot of that incest shit, so he, used to, put his little wee in her, and that's what it was until she became older and realized that it was wrong. And allegedly it stopped when I came around, or a year before that. But I don't know how true it is because, once again, people never reveal the full truth. So this uncle had feelings for his niece, and they're not far in range as far as age. So whole time he liked this woman, which is his family member. And I heard from an outside source that was cool with me and him that he didn't like me because I was cheating on her. And this is when we first got together. So we weren't official yet. You know, of course we dated and, you know, became boyfriend and girlfriend. But, you know, we were young. So I was doing my thing and I'm pretty sure she was doing hers. And I'm not pretty sure, you know, I knew she was, just like I was. You know, we weren't perfect. So, you know, he heard that I was cheating and, you know, that was a reason why he didn't like me. And he said he was going to put hands on me because I was cheating. But he didn't put hands on me, and, you know, he did ask me about it, like, you know, if I was cheating on her. And this is like when I first got to CT in Connecticut, you know. And that wasn't really any of his business. I didn't give him an answer and say, oh yeah, I'm cheating on her, or this, that, and the third. I really just listened to him say whatever he had to say. You know, I just stood there and I listened to what he was saying. At the end of the day, I was doing what I was doing, you know. And you can't tell me what to do. And he's a control freak. He feel like he always got to be in control. And from what my ex told me, she also told me there was a situation where this guy liked her in high school, and this was before I came around. So they was messing around, you know, my ex and this guy, and her uncle found out. And I guess this guy, you know, might have said something disrespectful to her or whatever the case may be. I don't know what was the case. I don't even think that was the case. They might have just had some, you know, disagreement. And he decided to put his 2 cents in it and put his foot in it. And he approached him and fought him, you know. So it's like, if he didn't put hands on your niece or anything like that, you don't got no reason to get involved. So, you know, they got to shaking. And, you know, this dude that I'm talking about, the uncle, he's, you know, not tall, you know, he's short. And the dude, he was taller than him, and he was from New York too. So, you know, I don't know this guy like that, but, you know, I'm just hearing these things. So, I'm pretty sure he was jealous because he probably really likes his niece, and he knows that they can't actually be together. But that doesn't stop anybody from doing anything. People feel how they feel. And feelings are what destroy people, especially men. So, you know, I might have had the woman in his dreams. And then later on, you know, I became who I became as far as, you know, the Don, you know, of the area I was in. You know, I was the youngest dude making the most money, you know, out of everybody. And this is not to make it seem like I'm better than anybody. It's just that I'm smart. And I knew how to navigate and, you know, bob and weave and create, you know, a system that employed me and my family and my partner that I was with. And he was doing the same thing, but he was fucking with, you know, other things as far as like, you know, shit that give you fat time. And you know, I dibble and dabble, but I never fucked with nothing hard. The most I ever did was you know, I don't even want to get into too much detail about it, but, you know, it was, you know, there's levels to it. So, you know, I used to deal with things as far as like, you know, medicinal and recreational, and then it got to a point where I started to dish out things that you could pop, like pimples on your face. you know, and I didn't like how, my customers were when I gave those things. They had like high anxiety and it made them uncomfortable. It was just like a real like finicky situation. So I decided to stop dealing with that, and I stuck to what got me where it got me, the fundamentals and, the roots, you know. So I continued to do what I was doing. But like I said, I excelled to levels that most people don't see. So that probably made him jealous as well. And I'm a very handsome young man, and I had it all. I had the cars, I had the money, I had the clothes, the materials, and that probably made him jealous. And of course, he's not going to tell me, oh, he's going to put hands on me, because he knew the type of guy that I was. When I was doing what I was doing, like I said, I didn't have fear. I've been through a lot, coming from where I come from. The Bronx is crazy, so what do I really have to be afraid of? I'm not afraid of somebody who really never put in no pain, you see what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying I'm bigger and badder than anybody, but I have courage and I'm fearless. I respect people though. I don't just step on toes and, try to act like I'm big and bold and, act egotistical or arrogant. That's not my nature. But I'm just a guy who is naturally dominant, but I'm still calm. But this guy was the complete opposite, and he's a snake, just like the chameleon guy. And it's funny, he has the same name, same nickname as the chameleon guy. And like I said, I'm not gonna name drop because this guy, I really, had him underneath the wing. Like I thought he was my man. Like it was times where we were just kicking it. We didn't kick it often, but it was a couple times where we was kicking it, and I'm thinking we alright, we straight, and, but he was very emotional, and he was very weak-minded. Yeah, like, and once again, he was doing things in the street, and he was getting involved in things that give out fed time. And he came home early. How you getting home early, dealing with something that's extreme? He probably outed somebody. I believe he's a rat. I truly believe that. Because there was multiple instances where he had weapons and other hard things, and he's getting out early. He's not even doing a full year. He might do a year and a half, but he's coming out. These charges include 5 to 7 to 10 years. So, he's probably an informant, a confidential informant. So I was peeping the game. I'm like, I don't even want to be around this dude. And that's the thing. People aren't going to just tell you how they feel about you. You have to find out from others. So, once again, he couldn't tell me that shit. He couldn't tell me how he really felt because he knows how I am. I'm like, well, let's handle it. And like I said, I used to box a lot. When I was in Bronx, I was boxing. And then I learned MMA when I was in Connecticut. So my hands were already lethal. And then I picked up that pistol. So I was like, I'm just going to take it there every time. That's why I'm very, gentle with people. I don't just start shit. I don't amplify shit. But if you bring that to me, best believe I'm going to handle it. I'm not saying I'm big and bad. I'm just saying this is what I'll do, to protect myself. But I found all this shit out. I found out the information as far as him not liking me because of this, that, and the third when I left Connecticut and I moved to Florida. And during this time, he was in a pen, and his Cody was somebody that we all used to hang out with too. So it was like, how did y'all even become Codys? How did y'all, become bunkmates? That's weird, you see what I'm saying? What kind of pull in the jail system, in the penal system, that you have to, be bunkmates with somebody that we all knew. So another clown that was always high off drugs, you see what I'm saying? Just bozo, he was off Xans and all types of shit, perks. Niggas love to get high. Dust head, you see what I'm saying? and that was the company he was keeping. You see what I'm saying? So he has assault charges and shit like that, gun charges, you know, the uncle, and distribution charges. So how are you doing a year and a half, or you never do a full 2 or 3? It was always a year and a half. So you're telling on somebody, you know. Yeah, and I know that I strike fear in niggas, and it's crazy. He got, you know, a pistol or whatever, you know, when he first coming around when I came to CT, it was a little dusty revolver. You see what I'm saying? He didn't even know how to shoot it. This shit was rusty and old. But I had to show him how to use a weapon. So he was like, yo, I can't get this to work. So I'm like, all right, let me see it. You know, we in the middle of CT somewhere, like, you know, in the neck of the woods. And he passed me it, you know, and I cock it back for him, make sure everything is lined up, and I shoot it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, once again, he's a dude that wasn't raised around the things I was raised around. You know, he was in Danbury, Connecticut. And that doesn't mean anything either. I'm not saying just because I'm from where I'm from doesn't mean I'm more tough and, you know, but what I'm saying is this. I was very immune to these things because I was just indulging it. He was a suburban kid that wanted that lifestyle. I was a dude that came from it and tried to change. There's a difference. So, yeah, you know, so I showed the nigga a lot. You see what I'm saying? There was times where he bought off of me and things like that, but that situation just never felt right. And then he always tried to lowball me and be like, oh, can you do this or can you do that? I'm like, nah, I need what I need. I'm already hooking you up. You see what I'm saying? And niggas ain't really show me love. So a lot of those reasons right there could prove that he felt however he felt about me, but never brought it to my attention. And he could have lined me up. He could have backdoored me. You see what I'm saying? He could have been like, oh, yo. And these niggas, the nigga that cut me, he used to ride with him. You see what I'm saying? Like, they was like best of buds. They were doing shit together. You see what I'm saying? They'll ride in the whip, smoke, whatever, and they would do shit together. So it's a high possibility, and it's probable that he could have set the situation up. And I was naive because I didn't think that something like that would happen to me. And I wasn't ready, and I wasn't armed like I am. So, you know, it's a messed up situation. And like I said, I'm not gonna say names because, look, man, I really, you know, I really don't give a fuck. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I'm a fighter at heart, but the way shit going down, especially, you know, in the streets, I will use what I have to use. And I have ammo, you see what I'm saying? I got plenty of that. This is what I do, you know. I like to shoot guns. And I really don't care about the repercussions or what could happen to me because, look, I already been cut. Niggas, you know, already chased me with machetes in the Bronx, you see what I'm saying? I'm not afraid of no fucking gun, you see what I'm saying? I can get up on you, you see what I'm saying? I know where niggas stay at, you see what I'm saying? I could always find people. And I'm not gonna hire anybody. I'm not the nigga that's gonna hire somebody. I'll do me, I'll do it myself. I don't need to hire mercenaries. I am the mercenary. I'm the warrior. I'm the soldier, you know? And I have ammo forever. I could do this, you know? And that's the thing. You can't fight me. You'll get knocked out. And you definitely can't shoot. I taught you what to do with your rusty ass 22. So you can't shoot. You know, I already know if niggas see me, I would strike the fear God in niggas. So, you know, I'm where I'm at right now. I'm doing what I need to do. I'm doing the right thing. I'm being legal. You know, I'm getting legal money now. But that doesn't mean that I've changed. I'm still who I am, just smarter. I've always been smart, but I'm even more smarter. So that makes me more dangerous. I always like to say that, you know, I found my father and he was never in my life. So if I was able to find him, I could find anybody on earth. You know, it's like I'm a background investigator. So, you know, I could play the time game, you know. I don't care if you got guns. Whatever firepower you have is not equivalent to mine. So that's just where I'm at in my life. I'm not gonna like force a situation and go crash out and throw my life on the line. But if it comes to me, I'll cook it, you know. I'll cook the beef, you know. I didn't start the beef. Y'all niggas started it. So I'll just handle it. And the niggas that know me from my neighborhood, I was never somebody to back down from a fight. I was never somebody to back down from, you know, getting busy and, you know, doing wild things out there. So even at my mature age, I know right from wrong, but I was still go. You see what I'm saying? I'm still on go because I understand that I need that mindset to survive. It's a survival instinct. You know, it's primitive thinking. It's a primal mind. So I'm in nature and I'm a warrior. So I have to do what I have to do as a man, you know, and that's how I feel, you know. So yeah, that guy, he's a fucking coward, and you know, he likes incest and he like, you know, raping females, and you know what I'm saying. You already a low down dirty dude, so it ain't nothing for me to smoke a nigga like that. You see what I'm saying? I don't even gotta think twice. I'll be like, damn, as soon as I see you, that's something about me. As soon as I see you, I'm on it. You know, niggas know that. You know, I'm very aggressive. You know, so yeah, that nigga's a coward. He's a sucker. He's a straight mark, straight bitch. You see what I'm saying? Those niggas you want to stay around. You know, you want to keep away from them. You know, you don't want to be too close. You want to keep from around niggas like that. Yeah, I learned a lot being out there. So, you know, family ain't shit. It really isn't.